Hey guys, thanks for joining for an episode of Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today we're going to take a look at Thanos Rising. This is a newer game by USAopoly. This is a 2 to 4 player game that takes roughly a half an hour to 45 minutes to play, and it is a fully cooperative game, so all the players are working together to defeat Thanos and hopefully stop him from collecting those 6 Infinity Stones. So in the game itself, each player is going to take on the role of one of the major teams from the movies, whether it's Captain America, Doctor Strange, Gamora, or Black Panther. And from there, they're going to be collecting a set of dice and rolling them to try to either collect additional heroes to add to their team or to fight off the different enemies that Thanos has, whether it's his general henchmen or if it's one of the main members of his team, which are really nasty customers and will do some serious damage to the players, especially if they don't take care of them fairly quickly. So throughout the game, the players are going to be doing this in the hopes that they will be able to defeat enough enemies based on the number that they've selected at the beginning of the game before Thanos is able to collect those 6 Infinity Stones. And depending upon how you roll his set of dice, you're probably going to be cursing him quite a bit, as it just seems like those dice know where you're at, in which sector you've chosen, and which stone you don't want rolled. Always seems to come up. So my opinions of this game so far, I've had a really good time with this one. This is one that I spotted at Gen Con and was definitely interested in checking out. I love cooperative games. I love dice chuckers, and this one definitely has captured that feel of the movie. And of course, you get a really cool miniature with it and everything else, which I'm not sure if you really classify that as a miniature because he's kind of big. But definitely a lot of fun and a great amount of teamwork with the bonus tokens being able to assist your other players. And you definitely feel that serious amount of threat because Thanos is always doing damage to you, or some of his henchmen or whatnot are always knocking your guys down. So you're just barely kind of skating by as the game goes on. And you're watching those Infinity Stones tokens get added up, and eventually those Infinity Stones are going to be locked in his gauntlet. And then things really start getting hairy. So definitely a game I would recommend checking out. Like I said, I had a really good time with this one and enjoy bringing this one out to the table with my friends and family. So I definitely recommend taking a look at this one. So, as always, if you guys like these videos, if you like what I do, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing to my channel so I can continue to bring these great videos to you guys. And if you want to stay up to date on all the videos I release, please also consider ringing that bell so you can get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's go ahead and head to the table and I'll teach you guys how to play. There are 3 different types of die included in the game. The first set we have are the power dice, and these are going to be broken down by the colors that are going to correspond to the majority of the symbols on them. So for example, with the cosmic dice, the black dice here, the majority of the symbols on them are cosmic, and then you'll have 1 technology, 1 mystic, and 1 battle symbol on these die. Same with the blue dice. These are mainly technology. The green are mainly mystic, and the red are mainly battle, and then they'll have the other 3 symbols on them. Then we have the 2 dice that are included for Thanos. We have his directional die, which is going to have 2 lefts, 2 rights, and then we have the symbol that's going to activate all the villains that are not in Thanos' sector, which I'll show you guys a little bit more on that later. And then the other side we have, which is going to be different than shown on the back of your manual. This is going to be the roll for the Infinity Stone die again. So you're just going to roll this die twice, which this is the Infinity Stone die, and it's going to have, each side is going to have a different colored Infinity Stone on it. And I'll show you guys how this works as well. Here we have the 4 leaders from the 4 different factions, and all the heroes are going to look pretty much the same way, and I'll give you a breakdown of them. Each hero in the top corner here is going to list the faction that they're associated with. Then we have the image of the hero and their name. Going down the side here is the hero's hit points. And for heroes that you're going to be recruiting, these are the requirements that you'll need on the power dice to recruit them. And I'll show you guys that a little bit more later. And then at the bottom are the special abilities of that hero, with most heroes granting additional dice or re-rolling dice or changing dice symbols, all kinds of different special abilities for those. There are also 10 villains included in the game. Each villain card will be tagged with the villain name at the top, and then the image of the villain and the name underneath that. Then we have symbols that the heroes are going to need to lock in order to cause the villain a wound, which their wounds are going to be listed in the top corner here. And then in the bottom of the card are the effects that villain will have if Thanos is in that villain sector, and I'll show you guys how those will work a little bit later. So in the game, we have 6 of the general outriders, which work pretty much the same way. They'll cause wounds to certain hero types. And then we have Thanos' teammates. There are 4 of them, and these guys have a little bit more hit points. Each one of them has 3 hit points instead of 2. And these guys are going to do some serious effects. They have some nasty consequences. So when these guys come out, I would highly recommend trying to drop them as soon as possible. Throughout the game, heroes are going to gain bonus tokens by adding a damage marker to a villain. They'll get to draw 1 bonus token per damage marker that they do. And these bonus tokens are going to do all kinds of different things, including removing counters from Infinity Stones, removing damage from heroes, adding an additional die to their attack rolls, and adding symbols straight to recruiting heroes or damaging additional villains. And I'll show you guys how these work more later. For player setup, each player is going to be dealt or choose a team base card, which is going to list their team's symbol on it and their starting dice pool, as well as their team's special ability, which can be activated if you roll the required amount of symbols for your first or initial roll. And I'll show you guys that more later. Each team is also going to list the team lead. So with our Avengers here, we're going to receive Captain America as our team leader. And you'll also receive the team's token that you'll use later on, as I'll show you guys. On the back of the card is also a quick reference for the turn order summary. For setup, there are 2 different parts. First, we have the Infinity Gauntlets. You'll lay that out in the center of the table, and then you're going to take the 6 Infinity Stone tokens and lay them around that. Does not matter the order, you can do it any order you want. And then finally, you're going to place out the Infinity Stone gems as well on each one of those spots. Now, throughout the game, as you roll the Thanos Power Stone die, it's going to come up with the different stones. Whenever that's rolled, you're going to add one of the yellow tokens to that stone spot. And if at the end of the round, if there are 5 cubes in there, then you're going to remove those cubes, add the Infinity Stone to the gauntlet, and flip over the token. Now after that, each time Thanos, the stone dice comes up with that color, you're going to resolve the effect of that instead of adding a cube to it. The second part of board setup is the deployment zone. So first off, after the players have selected their team and they've gotten their hero, for this game I'm going to set up for a 2-player game, so I'm going to use Captain America and Doctor Strange as the 2 players. The other 2 heroes are going to be added into the hero and villain deck. So we'll go ahead and just slide these guys in there. From there, then we're going to go ahead and shuffle this deck up. And this has all the remaining heroes in it, as well as the 10 villains. From there, then we're going to go ahead and place Thanos out in one of the sectors. We can choose any one of the 3 that he's pointing towards initially, so we'll have him pointing there. And then we'll deal out 9 cards around those sectors in each one of the flat spaces. Man, we got 2 major villains out there now. So the rest of these cards will just be set off to the side, and as we recruit heroes and defeat villains, we'll add additional heroes and villains into those spots. In Thanos Rising, players are working together as a team to either recruit additional heroes to their teams or defeat the villains before Thanos is able to collect the 6 Infinity Stones. During the round, each player is going to take a turn being the active player. During an active player's turn, they have 5 steps that they're going to go through in order to resolve their turn. And I'm going to take you guys through each one of these steps. So to start the game, our player that's playing Captain America's team, the Avengers, will be the first player and will take the first turn. So the first step in the turn is to place their deployment token in a sector. So he's going to take his deployment token and he's going to choose one of the 3 sectors to place it in. So first off, it depends on what he's looking for. If he wants to try to attack some villains or recruit heroes, initially he is the only one in his team. And so if we look at his ability, it says if you have another Avenger hero on your team, you get to roll an extra die. So that's very important. So it would be beneficial to go after one of the sectors that has some red heroes in it as well. So we have two choices here, one of these two sectors. So let's go ahead and go after this one here. So then once we place them, we're ready to move on to the next step. The second step in the round is to roll and resolve the Infinity Stone and Thanos dice. So we're going to go ahead and give these a roll. And we'll have to resolve them. So first off, Thanos is going to rotate in a clockwise manner one sector. So he'll face this sector here. And then he's going to damage each hero in that sector. So both Spider-Man and Rocket are going to take a damage. And then we will also, if the deployment token was in there, then he would damage each hero in the active heroes team as well. But since our deployment token is over here, he will not do that. Then he's also going to activate any villains in his sector. So with this one, it says that if Thanos is in this sector, we're going to roll an Infinity Stone die an additional time. So let's go ahead and resolve the Infinity Stone die first. So this is we're going to add 1 cube to the yellow Infinity Stone. And then because of that villain's ability, we're going to have to roll this again. So then we're going to do the same thing and add a cube to the red stone. The third step in a player's turn is to roll the power dice. You're going to collect all of the power dice that are associated with this player's team. So let's go ahead and look at this. With the Avengers team, you're going to get 4 red dice. So we'll go ahead and take 4 from the pool. And then you're going to check each of your heroes and see if they add any additional dice. So with Captain America, like I said, if you have another red hero on your team, you get to roll an extra red or blue die of your choice during your turn. But right now, he is the only hero, so this is all we're going to get. From here, then we're going to go ahead and give these a roll. And then we're going to check this initial result to see if we activated our team's ability, which says if you roll 6 battle symbols or more on your opening roll, you get to add 1 damage to a villain. As we didn't roll any, then we do not trigger that ability. From here, then we can go ahead and assign 1 or more of these dice to one of the cards out there to try to start working on achieving those points. So for example, with our roll here, pretty much all we can do is assign this one to the villain there to try to do some damage. Now, if you're unable to assign a die, then you have to forfeit one of them, and then you can continue rolling the rest. And you can only, again, assign the dice to one thing. So even if we would have rolled a power symbol, we could not choose to assign that there and this one there. But we could have assigned it over there, for example. So let's go ahead and roll again and see what we get. All right, so we got some damage symbols now. We really need another hero, so let's just go ahead and finish off our roll and assign those to that. So now we have the 3 battle symbols, and so we are going to recruit this guy. So step 4 is going to be applying the results of the die by recruiting heroes, where we get to remove all the damage and then add them to the team, adding damage markers to villains, and then we get to draw bonus tokens, and resolving hero abilities. So now that we've resolved all of our dice, we're ready to collect our heroes. So we get to gain Hawkeye, and if he would have had any damage on his player board from Thanos damaging him in previous turns, we get to remove those, and then we get to add him to our team. Now, again, if we would have been able to do more, let's go ahead and say, for example, that we would have gotten these results on the villain instead. We would resolve that as we've met all the requirements for that. Then we would remove our dice and add 1 damage to the villain, and then we would get to draw 1 bonus token from the pile. And you can meet multiple conditions for the different people. So as we get more dice, we could potentially do damage to a villain and collect a hero in the same turn. Now, also, some heroes are going to have special abilities that will require certain symbols to be placed on them to activate those, and this is when you would activate those as well, or during the turn, depending upon the ability. The final step in a player's turn is to discard any defeated heroes or villains. So if a villain has all of their hit points sections filled, or if a hero on a sector or in a player's board has all of their little squares filled with cubes as well, they are going to be removed as a casualty and placed in a discard pile. Then we're going to go ahead and replace empty sectors or empty spaces in a sector by drawing in a new card and placing them in that sector. So we have another villain. And then finally, the active player is going to collect their deployment token and place it back on their board. At this point, we're ready to move over to the next player to take their turn. So I'll take you guys through one more player's turn. So we'll go ahead and start off with Doctor Strange here. We're going to go ahead and place his marker in a sector. And let's go ahead and go up here. From there, we're going to go ahead and roll the Thanos die in Power Stone. All right, so we've got a left turn. So he's going to rotate this way. And then we have the green. So the green will get a token in it. And then we'll activate the enemies in this sector and damage any heroes. So Bucky will take a damage. And then with this one, we'll check this one. So if Thanos is in this sector, add 1 damage to all purple and green heroes in this sector. So we don't have any in there now. And our marker is over here, so that's not going to be affected. And then we have our other person here. So it says if Thanos is in this sector, add 1 damage to all heroes on the active player's team. So in this situation, then we would also take a damage for Doctor Strange because he is the active player right now. All right, so we resolved that. So we're ready to move into the player's turn. So with our player over here, he's going to get 3 red dice and 1 green. And he does not activate Doctor Strange's ability yet, so this is all we're going to get. All right, we did not meet the team's ability as we need 4 mystic symbols. And then we can go ahead and assign. So with our sector over there, I'm just going to rotate these around so you guys can see what they are for that sector. So you know what I'm going after here. So it's just heroes in that sector, and we have Vision over here that would be a good one to try to get if we're able to. We also could go after Black Widow, as we potentially have that. So, let's go ahead and start by adding 1 there, and then we'll go ahead and roll these again. All right, not what we're looking for here, not looking good at all. So at this point, we have to commit to something. Let's go after Black Widow. All right, and now, of course, we got the 2 mystic symbols that we needed for Vision, but we have not gotten any technology symbols. So I don't think we're going to pull anything off on this turn. And nope. So we have failed to get anything. So our turn will be over and we will just collect our token back. And hopefully next turn will go better for them. So there's a couple other important things I want to go into a little bit more detail on here. So the first is with the Infinity Stones, as the players go through the game, let's go ahead and say, for example, that over the turns our players have gone, we've had the green Infinity Stone just continue to accumulate tokens. And during this turn, we rolled another one. So we would add it to the marker. And then at the end of the turn, this would go ahead and be cleared. The Infinity Stone would move up, and we would flip this over. Now, next turn, if, for example, we roll the green, then we would activate this ability on this stone instead of adding a marker to it. Now, the other important thing I want to talk about a little bit further is with the enemies, each time you add a damage token to their board, you get to draw a bonus token. And each of these bonus tokens, like you guys already saw, does different things. So, for example, let's go ahead and take a couple here. Let's go ahead and say that we have this here. Okay. Now, we can use these tokens anytime, even on other players' turns, to help them. So, for example, with our previous turn with Doctor Strange, they needed a technology symbol. We can use our bonus token to add a technology symbol to help them out, or we could have given him an additional red die even later on in the turn after he had rolled his initial one. So towards the end of the turn, if he needed just one more symbol on something, we could have given him a die to hopefully get that or whatnot. So you can use these at any time to help your fellow players out. So this is a big cooperative thing that you guys need to make sure you pay attention to. So let me go through the endgame conditions now. So if the players are able to defeat enough villains before Thanos has collected all 6 Infinity Stones, they have won the game. At the beginning of the game, you're going to choose the difficulty you want to play, with 7 villains being defeated as a easy or beginning level game, and all 10 villains being defeated as the hardest difficulty in the game. If you're able to accomplish this before Thanos is able to collect all 6 Infinity Stones, then like I said, the heroes will win. Now the players can lose the game in a few different ways. If Thanos collects all 6 Infinity Stones, then the players will lose the game. He has mastered the control of the Infinity Gauntlet and wreaks havoc on the very fabric of reality. If collectively 10 or more heroes are defeated, all players are going to lose, as they have taken too many losses to successfully mount a coordinated attack against Thanos. And the final way the players are going to lose is if any one player has all of their heroes on their team defeated. All players are going to lose, as Thanos has eliminated one of the team's key bases of operation. Now, one thing to note is if players were able to both win and lose the game at the same time, for example, if Thanos collects all 6 Infinity Stones and the final villain is defeated, the players will win in those situations. Well, I hope you guys found that video helpful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my videos and to leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and I do try to take into account everything you guys say to make the best possible videos. And if you guys want to stay up to date with me, go ahead and hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, follow me there, or subscribe to my channel here. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to also hit that notification bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. And as always, thank you guys, and I will see you later.